I bought a mystery box off the dark web. I don't know what I was really thinking. I've been drinking with friends and got home drunk. I decided to open Tor, and one link led to another. I ended up on a marketplace website that was selling all sorts of shady shit. I could buy my own weight in cocaine if I saw fit, and had the money. Though something else caught my attention. A posting said mystery box, made to order, $250. I read the description, which listed what it could contain. A brand new iPad, that was it. That was the thing that made me send $250 worth of Bitcoin to some random guy in some random place on the internet. I had vague memories of sloppily messaging the seller that I really wanted the iPad. Oh god. I remember sending them an extra $50 to sweeten the deal. What a dickhead. When I woke, my head hurt. I had a full-blown migraine. It wasn't until I had breakfast, showered, and opened up my laptop that I remembered. My heart sunk. I didn't have money to waste on shit like that, but I did. I clicked the button to message the seller, to tell them I changed my mind, but nothing happened. I refreshed the page, and as you can guess, the listing wasn't found. Now, I didn't think myself to be an idiot. I wouldn't fall for 411 scams. I know no Nigerian prince wants to send me money, but drunk me, he's a bit of an asshole. I checked my Bitcoin account to see it tell me that I was out of untraceable money. I swear I had at least $750 worth in there. I was depressed for the rest of the day. I promised myself I wouldn't do anything like that again, but then drunk me is a real, Weeks passed and I completely forgot about it. To be honest, I didn't want to remember how stupid I was. Today, though, I did remember. I walked downstairs to see a large brown box on the kitchen table, addressed to me. My dad must have received it from the mailman when he was getting ready for work. I stared at it, shocked to see it had actually arrived. I picked it up. The weight was lopsided, but it was heavy. That was a good sign. At least it wasn't filled with packing chips. I pulled off the tape and opened it up to reveal a lot of packing chips. I chuckled to myself before plunging my hand in. I pulled up an anonymous red sweater. I held it to my face. It smelled of perfume. It was used. I was slightly disgusted. But what did I expect from the dark web? I placed it on the table next to me. The next item was a set of keys. I examined them and wondered why on earth that was part of this parcel. It was literally like this guy just shoved some random things into a box and sent it off. I was beginning to feel ripped off. I placed my hand in again and pulled out a small bag with a note attached. I knew what it was before I read it. I was excited. A little thing to make the time pass more calmly, written in Sharpie. It was a good amount of weed. I never bought drugs off the internet. I opened the bag to see if it was real deal, and that strong, skunky smell rose up. I took a deep breath and sighed. I'd say it was $70 worth, give or take. I pushed it into my back pocket, worried that my mom could be up in any minute and catch me with it. I was intrigued to see what was remaining. Maybe I'd make my money back. The next item was a small wooden box. I opened it to see a few pieces of silver jewelry. I checked each one, having no idea if it was worth anything. There were 2 necklaces and 2 rings. I wondered if these were stolen or bought from a pawn shop. I placed it next to the red top. The next was another baggie, with another note written in Sharpie. You'll need these, trust me. I was a little anxious when I read the note, and saw a small box of Xanax inside. What the fuck did I need anxiety medication for? I was not one to dabble in prescription drugs. Weed and a little mushrooms was all I needed. I knew some friends who'd paid good money for that. I had no idea how much they were worth, though. I looked it up later. I assumed $50, and that was $130 so far. And to be fair, for something off the dark web, if I only lost around half my money, I should count myself lucky. I fished around in the box again and couldn't feel anything else. I picked it up to feel it was still heavy. I placed it down again and stood up. I reached all the way to the bottom and felt something large and slender. I pulled it out. It was a fucking iPad. Holy shit! Jackpot! It was slightly scratched, but it wasn't a first generation. It was light and thin. It was at least an Air. I was stoked. It was then my mother popped her head around the corner. Hey honey, do you get a package? Yeah, I said, suddenly where I could smell the weed in my back pocket. Hey, you found my sweater, she said, delighted. Where was it? Was all I mustered. She picked it up and, unconsciously, the keys too. She walked away. I sighed. Worried she'd smell the drugs. What's that? She said, turning. I'm holding it for a friend, I said without thinking. What? She said, not paying attention. What's my jewelry box doing down here? I stared at my mom. Slack-jawed. She picked up and opened it, studying if anything was missing. Well, answer me, she demanded. It was in the package, I said honestly. Don't bullshit me. Where were you gonna sell this? No, I promise. Just wait until your dad gets home. Jesus, Darren. I swear this is not your stuff. It was in my package I bought off the net. You expect me to believe you bought my exact top and my jewelry box off the internet? Why in God's blazes would you do that? It was a mystery box. It could have contained anything. You come up with some shit sometimes. I think it's best you go to your room. I'm 17, I said. When you're under our roof, it's our rules. I picked the iPad up and went upstairs. I laid on my bed and turned the device on. I was surprised to see it still had power. A few non-standard apps appeared on the desktop as I swiped to unlock. Nothing of interest, though. I checked the email program to see that it was blank. I was worried it was stolen, and knew I couldn't keep it if there were any personal data on there. I checked the photo app. There were around a dozen photos. I tapped the first. It was a low-light shot of a street. Could have been any. I swiped and the next was of the front of a house. The light was on in the front room, but in low light. It overexposed a shot and made it hard to see any details. The next was the side of a house. The horizontal white wood siding looking similar to ours. The next was of what happened to a rear door. Then one of a kitchen. I did a double take. The place looked identical to ours. Then one of the living room. The TV bright and hiding the faces of the people who sat on the couch and chair. Then one of the stairs. The brown waxed wood of the floor was uncanny, and my heart thumped in my chest. And then one on the landing. This was no coincidence, it was our house. The family portrait that hung on the far side wall, even in low light, was obviously ours. I panicked and didn't want to swipe again, though I did. My parents' bedroom. My mother asleep on the bed. The bed covers pulled taut. The next view, the covers pulled gently back. My mother pulled her legs up from the sun and cool air. The cupboard open. A black gloved hand reaching out and searching. The hand holding a red sweater, a dark photo with lines of light obscuring the view. Another dark photo this time. The exposure was better, and I see it's from inside the cupboard. My dad was in the room. The next, my dad was getting into bed next to my mother. Then one of the bed, my parents sleeping. I swiped again and saw the covers pulled back. Whoever it was doing this wanted to be caught. I was sure of it. After that, in the hallway again, the black gloved hand holding the jewelry box outstretched in front. Only one photo remained, and it was above a bed with someone sleeping below. It was me. My blood ran ice cold. I threw the iPad to the floor, hearing it crack against the side of my desk. No, I said to myself. I leaped up and saw the screen stare back at me with a rainbow mosaic of broken LCD and glass. What was I going to tell my parents? They'll never believe me. I pulled a bag of pills out of my back pocket and read the note again. You'll need these, trust me. I turned over to read a date. July 21st, 2018. It must have been when the package was sent. I read it again and realized that's tomorrow, Saturday, fuck. What does it mean? I have to warn my parents, please. If you don't hear from me, call the authorities. I fear the worst. Please, stay away from the deep web. I had always been aware of the deep web. You hear the craziest, most fucked up stories from people who have the balls to explore it. Websites that involve human experimentation, hiring a hitman, and even watching people through their own security cameras. It's fucked up. But honestly, I'd be lying if I said I wasn't slightly interested. Now, just to point out, there was no malicious intent behind my exploration of the deep web. I was just curious to see if it really was as bad as people said it was. The first thing I stumbled upon was a website extremely centered around death, which gave me a really uneasy feeling. so I didn't hang around that webpage very long. It takes quite a bit to freak me out, so it's safe to say I was a little surprised that I couldn't even stomach the first website I clicked on. But hey, it's not supposed to be all unicorns and rainbows, right? Next, I clicked a website that was dedicated to watching people through security cameras. Most of the screens showed empty living rooms and patios. Some of them showed oddly filled rooms, like rooms that were packed with stuffed animals, and another that was eerily decorated with fucking Christmas lights and fake Santa Claus statues. Another screen showed a young woman doing yoga. That one had a lot of views. I didn't watch that one very long. Something inside me felt ill and just wrong, like what I was doing was sickening. I shook my head, blinking away any more curiosity, before I hovered my mouse over the tiny X to close the window. Right before I pressed the mouse, I saw a blue link under a black screen that said, "Proceed with caution." I bit down on my back teeth, yelling internally to leave the page. Don't click the link, it's not worth it. It could be murder. Would that make me an accomplice? What if it was someone skinning an animal or some shit like that? But then again, what if it wasn't? I don't know what the hell propelled me to move my mouse away from the window, hovering over the link instead. But that's where I ended up. My curiosity always got the best of me, and no matter how twisted my stomach felt, or how strong the feeling of dread was that lingered right over my head, I had to know. I just had to know, really, what the link led to, or I would go crazy until I finally figured it out. So I pressed my mouse down and watched the link turn purple, felt my mouth go dry, and watched as the screen slowly loaded. The page was just comprised of a large screen, like the security camera page, only it was just one. The room was concrete. It was dark. There must have been a night vision camera or something like that, because everything had a weird blue-green tinge, but you could tell there was little to no light. There was a dark liquid on the floor and a medium-sized puddle. I told myself it was gasoline. Don't ask me why. Movement in the far right of the screen caught my attention. I immediately perked in my desk chair, inching my face closer to the screen of my laptop. It looked like an arm, like someone's forearm. They were standing there, not really moving, but subtly swaying, just enough to not look completely still. "Hey," I said, before shaking my head and slapping my mouth shut. "Stupid." Then the person walked. They walked over towards the left of the screen. I felt my stomach knot, felt my throat tingle and tighten, bile rising in the back of my throat. I knew my mouth was open, gaping, and eyes were wide, face screwed up into an expression of pure disgust. It was a young woman. She looked like she couldn't be older than 25 or so. Long, dark, and dirty hair was in tangles, like she had been pulling at it. Her leg was dragging, her other skinny leg doing most of the work, as she limped weakly. Her head was down, looking at the floor, and the sound of her dragging her foot across the concrete echoed in my silent room. I didn't think it could get any worse. I was so fucking wrong. Suddenly, the woman raised her head, and it looked like it weighed a ton on her tiny body. I hadn't noticed it before, only able to barely make out her side profile, but now it was clear as day. She looked around, eyes watering with tears and black makeup streaming down her face. Small strands of bloody thread were intertwined in her lips, messily tied, locking them together. Dark blood stained her chin, probably from where she'd tried desperately to open her mouth to scream before realizing that she couldn't. Her dainty fingers were stained as well, the same color as the puddle on the concrete. My whole body felt weak. My stomach was sick. I tried to tell myself it was fake, that it was all a big hoax. My eyes scanned to the bottom left of the screen. 5,623. 5,623 people were watching. Unable to fight it any longer, I ran straight into the bathroom, puking my insides into the toilet bowl. Everything in me felt disgusting, wrong, twisted. Once I was finally done, I laid on the floor of the bathroom, letting the cool tiles try to soothe my burning body. My head was spinning. I kept repeating to myself over and over in my head that I shouldn't have clicked the link. I should have left. I should have closed the fucking window and told my inner curiosity to just go fuck itself. Well, instead, I was laying on the floor, the bathroom reeking of vomit, and my mind a complete mess over what the hell I was supposed to do. Should I get the link and send it to the police? Should I call them now? My first instinct was to copy and paste the link just in case. then the police and informed them of what happened. Maybe they could trace the IP or something. Maybe they would recognize the girl and know where to start looking. Maybe I could save her life. I felt really fucking dumb if this was all fake just to get viewers, but I wasn't about to gamble it, not with what was at stake. I ignored the dizzy feeling flooding my head as I jumped up, grabbing the doorknob and twisting it a bit too harshly. When I flung the door open, my phone buzzed in my pocket, scaring the living shit out of me. I stopped mid-panic and picked it up with shaky hands. I saw my girlfriend's name and immediately slid to answer. My voice was a complete wreck, my eyes finding the screen where the girl shrunk down to the ground, the sound of her cries bouncing around the room, making my body feel rigid. I had nothing left to throw up, but I still felt so sick. Madeline, you're not gonna believe what I fucking saw. What? Are you okay? Have you been crying? No, I'm not okay, I answered, averting my eyes from the screen. I know you said to stay away from the deep web, but... Are you kidding me? Her voice went from caring to mad in a split second. I told you to stay away from that place. You'll never listen to me. You never fucking do. There's a girl, I said weakly. She's trapped in some basement or something. Her mouth is... Her mouth is... Her mouth is like sewn shut. There's blood all over her face and hands. I don't know what to do, Madeline. The woman's cries got louder, more desperate but muffled. I'm so sorry. Close it out, clear your history, and never go back there again. I'm not kidding. But should I call? No! Her voice was stirred now. You don't know if it's bullshit. It's probably staged to gain disgusting viewers, apparently like yourself. People do it all the time. That's why I said it's best if you just stayed away from there. You could get yourself into a lot of trouble. I didn't say anything, wordlessly walking over to the desk. My hands shook as I raised my mouth to the small X once more. My eyes watched the number of viewers slowly tick higher and higher before I closed the window. I felt even worse than before. Okay, we can file a report tomorrow, just in case. But for now, go to sleep and stay the fuck away. I can't believe you even went there in the first place. I didn't have the energy to argue with her. Guilt plagued my whole body, drowning me. It's all I could feel. I told her goodnight, that I was sorry, and that I loved her before I hung up and made my way to the couch to sleep, or try to sleep. It didn't feel right even being in my bedroom, or being anywhere near my computer. Not while that girl was still trapped, unable to scream for help, unable to talk at all. I know it could be fake, but that really was a risk I was willing to take. I looked up some Google searches over what was fake on the deep web, and read multiple stories about staged webcam videos, which made me feel a little bit better. It didn't make the sick, guilty feeling go away though. It's safe to say that I didn't get much sleep. Every time I closed my eyes or even began to drift off, I would see the woman's face, the thread laced into her lips, the blood straining her mouth, her fingers, the floor. I continued to grow more and more anxious and uneasy, deciding that maybe getting out of the house, heading over to a local CVS and picking up some melatonin might help. I threw my blanket off, slid on my shoes, and grabbed my keys and wallet from the nightstand. The cool air felt amazing, and did wonders to calm the whirlwind of thoughts in my head. I went to check the time, realizing I left my phone at home. Not a big deal. The store was only a couple minutes away from my house. I ended up buying the medicine and a strong sleeping pill just in case those didn't work. I got a pack of bottled water to help rehydrate after I vomited up all those contents in my stomach earlier. By the time I got home, I felt much better, which lasted about 3 seconds before I noticed that my front door was wide open. Now, I may have been in a state of shock and panic, but I never ever leave my front door open or even unlocked. My heart immediately began to race. I got out of my car, closing the door quietly and unlocking my trunk, grabbing the crowbar that I kept in there. "Who's there?" I yelled into the house, waiting for any noise. "Who is in there?" My own voice was shaking and weak. I was met with complete silence, keeping the crowbar up and ready to strike. I walked to the couch and felt for my phone. As soon as I found it, I hit the emergency button and waited until I got a hold of a 911 operator, letting her know that I think my house was just broken into. She told me police would be on their way. After checking around the house for anything odd, I decided to give my girlfriend a call, letting her know what happened. The phone rang, and then rang some more. After getting her voicemail, I hung up, knowing she'd probably be asleep this late at night. I waited about 20 or so minutes for the police to show up, and walked around with them, like a scared puppy, as they checked every room. They ended up just having me fill out a report, telling me they'll keep patrol cars in the area just in case anyone else gets hit. As they were leaving, I checked to see if Madeline had called back yet, but there wasn't any missed calls. I, however, did notice several outgoing calls to her cell phone. Outgoing call to Madeline, 3:12 a.m. Outgoing call to Madeline, 3:14. Outgoing call to Madeline, 3:17. Outgoing call to Madeline, 3:20 a.m. And then another one at 3:56 a.m., which was around the time I'd gone home. My mind went into an automatic panic mode, knowing for a fact that I'd make those calls. I quickly checked my texts, reading one I'd apparently sent out at 3:23 a.m. Hey, can't sleep. Gotta come over. Mind leaving the back door unlocked so I can get in? I did not send the message. My stomach dropped. My heart thudded loudly in my chest as I noticed her reply directly underneath. Sorry, I was sleeping. Thanks for making me up, by the way. Lose your key again? It's unlocked. Don't be too late. Without a second thought, I jumped up, running to lock all the doors and windows in my house, keeping the crowbar tight in my hand as I ran to my car. I drove as fast as my little Civic would allow all the way to her house, ignoring any stoplights. It only took me 3 minutes to get there, but I still knew it'd be too late. I made my way to her back door, feeling every cell in my body burn when I saw it was wide open. My face was hot, my hands were shaking, but I stepped inside, crowbar raised like a bat, ready to swing. I tried to keep my emotions at bay as I looked around her dark house. Madeline! I called out. Are you okay, babe? Nothing silence. Madeline! A small scream came from her bedroom just up the stairs. My legs jerked to a run as I flew up the stairs. Slamming her door open, I looked at her empty bed, her empty room. Confused. I heard the scream again. Only this time, I heard that it was coming through her computer monitor. I felt numb as I looked at the screen, noticing the same website I saw earlier, only instead of one woman. I saw two. The first was lying on the floor, not moving, in that puddle of dark liquid. I recognized the second girl, just as I had recognized her voice. My heart shattered as I saw her face, streaked in blood. The same threading was sewn into her eyelids, locking them shut. Her scream hit my bones, surrounded my body. It was all I could hear. Her face was twisted in pure horror. I cried pathetically as her voice began to go out, continuing to grow weaker and rasp. I locked my jaw, picking up my cell and dialing 911 for the second time. Only this time it barely rang once before the deep, gravelly voice of another man answered. You should not have called. Chills shot through down my body. Then I heard the phone thud as it hit the carpeted floor. My breath hitched in my throat as I bent to pick it up, hanging up the call and racing down the stairs. How did he do that? How did he redirect my call away from the police? I felt my heart race as I darted out of her back door. In a frenzy as I sprinted to the closest house, I pounded the door, screaming at the top of my lungs, until a neighbor opened it, her face tired, confused, and scared. She let me in, and I explained through frantic tears what happened. I'm typing this on my phone to post as we both try to get a hold of the cops, but neither of our calls are going through, and neither is her landline. I think someone is messing with her cellular signal, and they may have cut her line. But we're going to keep trying. I'm scared for me. I'm scared for my girlfriend, and I'm scared for my neighbor. I don't know what's going to happen to me. If you don't hear from me again, please take this advice and this experience to heart. Stay away from the deep web. For fuck's sakes, please stay away from the deep web. I'm currently solving a deep web puzzle. I thought you guys might be interested. So I'll preface this by saying I'm one of those guys with a weird hobby. I'm not ashamed of it, but I know it might be hard for people to understand. Unfortunately, it's pretty important to this whole thing, so I'll do my best to describe it. I'm also not a native Redditor, hence the relatively new account, so hopefully I don't screw anything up. I guess the easiest way to put it is this. I download images from all over the internet and scan them for hidden files. I started doing it in high school after I read a tutorial about it, and I just never stop. It's addictive. It's like a treasure hunt. You never know what you'll find. Most of the time, it's just text files or illegal stuff, which I report whenever I find it. But I've also found bank account informations, living wills, conversations. It's amazing the kind of stuff you can turn up if you know where to look for it. I've got a whole collection of what I found. Here are a few. A draft of a suicide note. It was saved to some kind of Word knockoff file, so I moved it into Notepad for easier reading. A picture of a picture. This one bothered me, but of course, the exit data was long gone, so I didn't report it. Whatever this is, an inventory. I think I'll get some of these drug names, but to be honest, I really don't know. Story of this one's not very interesting, but I'd love to know what it's all about. Anyways, like I said, I've been doing this weird hobby for a while, although I did stop for a while after college. Recently, I got back into it, but I think that method of hiding stuff must be dying down, because until this, I hadn't found much. I could honestly slap myself, because I don't remember where I downloaded it from. I was doing massive batches of images from various social media boards, and this one happened to be included. In this picture, what it said was, "This is a big fucking waste of your time. You think you're gonna change the world, but the only thing you're doing is losing. They preach and preach about being self-a-starter when you're in school, and how you're gonna be your own guy to get ahead, but that's a load of shit. No one really means that. I don't have anything anymore. If there is a God, haha. I'm dead when you're reading this, cause there's nothing left of me to do anything. But think about all the shit I can't get rid of. There's nothing anymore. There's no motivation or point or anything, and you know what? Go ahead. Misery loves company. Figure it out on your own. Be a self-starter like your buddy here." After that, it got confusing. It was just a copy and paste block of nonsense, letters and symbols. By the way, I should mention now that I'm not posting anything that could lead back to all of this. I'm pretty sure I'm already being monitored, and I don't want to take responsibility for anyone else doing this. Sorry, it's all information you can find on your own, but since a lot of the things I did to get access to it are illegal, I'm not going to dig myself into a deeper illegal hole than I already in. Anyways, I just couldn't get the whole thing out of my head. Something, it got stuck to me. The new Cicada puzzle was out and really popular at the time, and I've been following along, but I got stuck really early on and couldn't continue. I wonder if maybe this guy had gone farther than me. If there was any chance at moving forward, it was a long shot, but I figured I had nothing to lose except time, so why not? I took the big block of text, which I figured was some kind of a code, and tried translating it every way I could think of. Nothing worked. And I really mean that. I tried everything. I ran it through every fucking translator I could think of, but it never turned into anything meaningful. I assumed that whatever it turned into would be some kind of link, so that just made it harder to know if I was even on the right track. There weren't any words to use as guides. The whole thing was actually a really big blow to my self-esteem. Maybe that's dumb, but it was the second thing I hadn't been able to break, and up until then I thought I was actually getting good at that kind of stuff. I solved an accident a couple days later. I was cleaning and found my old Boy Scout manual. I flipped through it, and there was a section about creating a secret code you could use to talk to friends or whatever. There was a specific section about using a keyword, and I honestly couldn't believe I hadn't thought of that before. I read back through the note and noticed that even though there were grammatical mistakes, there were only about 2 words misspelled: about and company. I used each of those individually as a keyword and tried a couple of the common ciphers, but they didn't work. Once I combined them, the gibberish shortened significantly, but still didn't spell anything. Now it was just a sentence-long string of letters and numbers. If you guys know anything about the deep web, you know that most of it has to be accessed through Tor or any other program that can access onion sites. Since the guy had gone through all the trouble of hiding this thing, I figured whatever he was linking to wouldn't be on the surface web, where anyone could find it. I plugged it into Tor, and sure enough, it took me somewhere. Unfortunately, and probably predictably, the site only led to more questions. It was a blank white background, barely any kind of aesthetic coding at work, and the only thing on it was a bunch of pictures of UFOs. They weren't special ones even, or anything I'd never seen before. It was just a bunch of the ones everyone's seen. The grainy plate-looking thing against the gray sky. Obviously, Photoshop triangles over cities, you couldn't click on or maximize them either. You couldn't even scroll down. It was just a little gallery of maybe 10 pictures. And that's where I'm at now. I found this site, and I suspect there's something inside it that this guy doesn't want aired out. The whole thing is absolutely bizarre, and for all I know, it could be a complete dead end. But there's something about it that I'm interested in. At the very least, it's a good practice for the cicada puzzles. It may be a bit of a stretch to say that it's a real deep web puzzle, but it feels like there's something more going on. Maybe I'm just reading too much into it, but nothing like this has ever happened to me before, and I guess, at the very least, I might find some kind of crazy one-man conspiracy theory.